Alright guys, the stream is starting soon. We're just gonna make sure that we're live because we were having troubles with Twitch earlier, only kick. So let me check on that and then we'll start the stream. Alright, so I'm happy with that. Let's get started. Alright, thanks for your patience, guys. I'm still trying to get the kinks out or whatever. This is my first stream, desktop stream at least. We're going to go over occult knowledge, the Black Sun, Baal worship. Similar to what Zerka does, it's going to be just you watching me study this shit. And hopefully we make it into a series. So let's get started.
We are all within the black cube matrix. You're probably wondering, what are these black cubes? What do they symbolize? Why are they in every major city around the world? I'm here to tell you that this black cube represents the cube of Saturn, the very cube found on the North Pole of Saturn. The truth is far stranger than you might believe. In the occult realm, Saturn is known as Father Time, and its symbology is evident everywhere you look. The planets aren't what you believe they are. They're not what you've been told. Behind these 7 energies that we call planets, there lies a far deeper meaning. The elites in power seem to worship Saturn, given that their symbols are pervasive. Take Michael Jackson's album cover, for instance. It features the word escape set against Saturn's rings. What do you think he's trying to tell us? Venture into the world's secrets, and you'll find a web of mysteries and esoteric knowledge hidden in plain sight. The Black Cube Matrix is one such enigma. The symbols are everywhere, from public sculptures in major cities to covert emblems in pop culture. Yet, only the initiated recognize them. When one gazes upon the
So the most famous is probably the Kaaba in Mecca that you see here. The Muslims gather around or circle.
Prominent structures in places such as New York, London, and Tokyo, the recurrent theme of the black cube emerges, standing tall and unwavering. To the untrained eye, they might appear as mere architectural choices, but to those who are attuned to the esoteric world, it symbolizes a hidden truth. The cube of Saturn, located on the north pole of the planet, is the very black cube that you see represented across our world.
Capital One, I never noticed that. So let's go back. Capital One has the same ring. I never noticed that. Direct TV. Internet Explorer. Isn't that crazy? Internet Explorer.
A black cube that you see represented across our world. The cube is not merely a geometric shape. It is an emblem of power, an indicator of knowledge and dominion, and the nexus of the ancient and the modern. To understand this connection, one must delve into the occult significance of Saturn. Known in esoteric circles as Father Time, Saturn is depicted with his scythe, representing both creation and destruction. While many in the contemporary world see planets as mere celestial bodies, the occult knows them as energies, forces, and deities. Saturn is not just a planet, it is an embodiment of time, discipline, and cycles. But why the obsession with Saturn? The elite powers that be understand the significance of the energies these celestial bodies hold. They believe that by worshipping Saturn and tapping into its energy...
Alright, so the Seal of Solomon, check this out. The feminine is pointing down, and the masculine is pointing up, phallic, so up. Almost like a missionary, right? So the woman's legs are up, the man is on top of her. The Masonic seal is the same. The Kaaba, the Seal of Solomon here.
They can harness its power. Evidence of this can be found in numerous symbols and emblems, corporate logos, movies, music albums, and even fashion. They're not simply representations, they're talismans.
Also, something I didn't notice before is this Jewish, I'm not sure what it's called, to be completely honest with you. It's like a wrap that they use that's usually on their arm, and then you see this cube on top of their head.
Take, for instance, Michael Jackson's album, Escape. The title itself implies a desire to break free, but what's more intriguing are the Saturn rings clearly depicted on the cover. Is it merely an aesthetic choice, or was the King of Pop subtly communicating a deeper message, a cry for liberation from the very matrix we're discussing? And Michael Jackson isn't the only one. Numerous artists, filmmakers, and writers have woven Saturnian symbolism into their works, nudging the aware viewer towards a greater truth. However, to say that space isn't real would be an oversimplification. What's meant by this is that our understanding of space, inculcated by mainstream narratives, is limited and skewed. The cosmos is not just a vast emptiness dotted with celestial bodies. It's a canvas of energies, stories, and truths waiting to be deciphered. Let's unravel the significance of the 7 energies we term planets. In the occult world, the number 7 holds
7 energies or stars.
There are 7 chakras, 7 ancient wonders of the world, and 7 deadly sins. These planets are not just wandering celestial objects. They are the embodiment of 7 fundamental energies that influence our world. The elites recognize this. Their obsession with these energies, especially Saturn, is not mere superstition. It's an understanding of the interconnectedness of the universe. Mercury, for instance, emits a unique frequency that influences quantum vibrations in our own atomic structures. These frequencies don't just carry messages, they resonate on a subatomic level, subtly altering electron behaviors, linking neural pathways, and affecting the very essence of thought transference. Venus, bathed in its radiant glow, emanates particle waves that interact with the magnetism of our world. Its pole affects more than just gravitational tides, it exerts force on the elemental magnetite found within living organisms, influencing biological attractions and the interconnected dance of life itself. Mars, with its iron-rich soil, releases a distinct cosmic radiation. This energy, detectable by the most sensitive of instruments, seems to stimulate our primal instincts. It is speculated that these radiations affect our adrenaline production and other biochemical pathways, evoking that innate drive within us. Jupiter, the colossal force in our solar system, emits a potent energy field that affects the spin of electrons in our environment. This spin manipulation, according to esoteric physicists, might be linked to the expansive and abundant feelings associated with this great planet. Saturn's ring system, beyond its visible beauty, scatters charged particles throughout its vicinity. These particles, when they interact with Earth's own magnetic field, can influence our perception of time and the cyclical nature of our existence. Uranus, with its off-kilter axis, emits asymmetrical energy waves that challenge and disrupt the standard quantum patterns. This might be why, during specific Uranian alignments, there are noticeable shifts in innovation and revolutionary thinking. Neptune, the mystic of our solar system, sends forth subsonic frequencies. These frequencies are believed to resonate with our pineal gland, often called the third eye, potentially opening pathways to deeper realms of consciousness. When we shift our perspective from the mystical to the subatomic, we realize that the planets offer more than just symbolic energy. They engage with us on a quantum level, altering the very fabric of our being, intertwining science with the arcane, revealing the occult truths of our cosmos. There's an ancient saying, as above, so below. This age-old principle, echoing through the corridors of Hermetic traditions, encapsulates the idea that our vast cosmos with its myriad patterns mirrors the intricate events on Earth. Such is the essence of the Black Cube and Saturnian energies, interweaving celestial and terrestrial realms, hinting at forces that shape not just our spiritual journey, but even pragmatic aspects of our lives, like our financial markets. J.P. Morgan, the Titan financier, was no stranger to these connections. Many recall his statement, "Millionaires don't use astrology, billionaires do." Far from a casual remark, it reveals Morgan's genuine belief in the ties between planetary movements and market ebbs and flows. He leaned on astrologers, tapping into age-old wisdom to strategize in business, drawing connections from the stars to Wall Street. Speaking of the stars, while many of us have dabbled in traditional astrology, I recently stumbled upon a program that dives into moon readings. Its simplicity belies its accuracy. Without exaggerating, its result felt almost uncannily on point. It makes one wonder about the depths of celestial influence. For the curious among you, there's a link in the description, but go there after watching this video. Now, Raymond Merriman, a stalwart in financial astrology today, brings ancient practices to contemporary tables. With an impressive career spanning decades, Merriman's work bridges the celestial with the economic, gaining nods of respect even from skeptics. Taking a step back, the overarching narrative is hard to ignore. The Black Cube Matrix and Saturnian energy are not mere esoteric symbols. They rippled through our society, influencing everything from our buildings to our bank accounts. Morgan's legacy is proof that some elite figures don't just understand these connections, they harness them. In conclusion, for those with eyes to see and ears to hear, the universe whispers its secrets. Beyond just spiritual introspection, these cosmic energies seep into our daily grind. Peering beyond the surface, there's a vast tapestry of interconnectedness waiting for us to unravel its mysteries. It's an invitation, urging us to look up, connect the dots, and harness the boundless. The moon has long stood as a beacon, casting its silvery light across cultures, religions, and secret societies. Its pull reaches not just the ocean's tides, but seeps into the human psyche and our physiological rhythms. An ancient power, it is deeply woven into the fabric of our beliefs. Consider menstruation, or moonstruation, a monthly cycle echoing the moon's own wax and wane. This phenomenon.
Okay, so I didn't know about this, but like month is a moon cycle. Month comes from moon, moon,
which happens exclusively during the fertile years, held symbolic potency in bygone cultures. The menstrual blood, often perceived with a mix of awe and trepidation, has perhaps influenced the use of red ochre by our forefathers. Even today, rituals and practices surrounding menstruation persist, reflecting age-old beliefs. This reverence for the menstrual cycle might be why events like the Witches' Sabbath were intricately linked to lunar phases, painting the moon in strokes of mystery and reverence. Delve deeper, and the Sabbath's significance becomes even clearer. Once the heart rest of the moon, this day was co-opted by the Jews and later the Christians, shifting it towards a more solar and masculine deity. This transition also brought about a shift from the matriarchal 13-month lunar calendar, with its symbolic 13 zodiac houses, to the solar 12-month structure. A subtle nuance, but these 12 houses are evocative of the 12 zodiac signs, a potent parallel to Jesus and his 12 disciples, hidden figures in the dance of celestial worship. Astrotheology, or the theology of stars, is the ancient study of these celestial patterns and their divine implications. The concealed number 13, the hidden month, is a testament to the Earth Mother's power and significance. It's in the very fabric of religious foundations: Christ as the sun, Mary's ties to the moon, and the 12 disciples as the zodiac. This lunar influence extends to the deities worshipped across cultures: Aphrodite, Ishtar, Isis. While their names may differ due to regional nuances, they are essentially manifestations of the same energy, the Gnostic Sophia, or wisdom. Secret societies have been the guardians of these lunar secrets, sheltering them through ages, even as they skirmished or assimilated with dominant solar cults. The profound impact of the moon on human psychology and physiology isn't just the stuff of legends. Terms like lunatic, drawn from the moon, underscore this connection. Historical data reveals patterns linked to lunar cycles, higher incidence of kleptomania, arson, and even driving mishaps during full moons. Rituals such as the Jewish Passover and the Christian Easter are scheduled around lunar events, hinting at the moon's profound influence on our traditions. Intriguingly, the lunar cycle also appears to have sway over births. A 1948 to 1957 New York study of 500,000 births indicated more births during a waning moon. Even in remote Germany, births seemed to align with high tides as the moon passed overhead. Eugen Jonas in the 1960s delved into the lunar influences on ovulation, boosting contraception's effectiveness astonishingly. However, it isn't just humans that are impacted. Frank Brown's groundbreaking research unveiled that creatures ranging from oysters to rats are governed by lunar cycles. Despite initial skepticism from the scientific community, Brown's findings illuminated the omnipresent lunar influence on Earth's inhabitants. In the dance of cosmic bodies, the ancients discerned gods shaping their destinies. Today, as we unravel the moon's mysteries, we find a tapestry of secrets where each thread holds a story of reverence, power, and balance. The celestial realm, a vast expanse where the Saturn, the moon, and countless other bodies reside, seems most active under the cloak of night. This nocturnal setting, deep and inscrutable, offers a backdrop against which the dance of these celestial bodies is most vivid. The Saturnine chronology, the moon's enigmatic waltz, and even the silent whisper of stars. All of these narratives unfold primarily in the silent hours of the dark. This preponderance of celestial activity at night prompts us to ponder: is there an inherent darkness or shadow in these events and energies? The ancient pagan traditions, after all, were deeply connected with night. They revered the moon and other celestial bodies, drawing energy and power from the cosmos during nighttime rituals and ceremonies. This association with the pagan energies, often misunderstood or even feared in various cultures, raises questions about the nature of the forces we tap into when we attune ourselves to the cosmos. However, to hastily equate the night and its mysteries with something sinister would be a gross oversimplification. The universe, in all its vastness, holds a balance. Just as there's day, there's night. For every right, there's left. This duality is inherent in the very fabric of existence. It's a reminder that all energies, be they from the sun or the farthest star, emanate from the same divine source. I choose to believe that everything, every planet, star, and nebula, is an expression of the divine. If we view the cosmos through this lens, then every nocturnal mystery becomes a chapter in a grand tale written by the hands of the Creator.
Do you hear what he just said? So he's saying that it's written by the hands of the Creator. This didn't just happen by accident. If you think the Big Bang Theory is real and everything is precisely in its place, mise en pause, like, you're insane. You're retarded. Sorry.
This perspective invites us to love and embrace both the light of day and the secrets of night, understanding that they are two sides of the same cosmic coin. In the end, as we peer into the depths of the universe, seeking understanding and connection, it's essential to approach these mysteries with an open heart, for in the balance of day and night, right and left, light and shadow, we find the true essence of the cosmos, a symphony of energies that, while varied in nature, originate from the same divine source. This realization is perhaps the most profound secret of all.
Yeah, so that was a good video. I really like this creator, actually. I was researching all of these videos beforehand and trying to pick out the ones that are going to be the least boring, because I can't just listen to a monotone person. Sorry. And neither can you guys. So let's do this one, the Seal of the Black Sun.
In 1938, 300 miles from Berlin, the halls of Wewelsburg Castle echoed with the ringing of tools. 12 stone pillars are constructed at the edges of a room in the north tower. In the center, a sunwheel mosaic is embedded into the floor in green and gold, onto which converges the light of day from 12 windows. The radial motif is repeated within the sunwheel itself. Arranged in a clockwise pattern, 12 sig runes emerge from a central point. This symbol, the Sonnenrad or Black Sun, has become the de facto emblem of the esoteric or occult strain of post-war National Socialist thought. Unfortunately, speculation around its meaning has inspired a wealth of literature relying more on sensationalism than on substance. Considering the recurrence of the number 12 both in the structure of the Sonnenrad mosaic and that of the room built around it, a discussion of numerology seems a reasonable place to begin. Although a definite medievalist streak looms large over Himmler's remodeling of Wewelsburg Castle, according to SS Obergruppenführer Karl Wolff, the top 12 SS generals that were to meet in the hall represented the 12 Knights of the Round Table, one of the castle's study halls was dubbed König Artus, etc. An Arthurian inspiration is by itself insufficient to explain the number's prominence. For instance, we know that the ancient Greeks worshipped 12 Olympian deities to whom an altar described by Pindar as the navel of the city was dedicated in the Agora of Athens. In Latium, the 12 statues of the De Consentis stood in the Forum in the heart of Rome alongside the Law of the 12 Tables. The Prose Edda states that 12 are the Aesir of the race of gods, and that Odin, the highest and eldest of the Aesir, is known by 12 names. The Norse gods held court atop their 12 seats in Ida Field in the center of Asgard, a realm that was held to be the middle of the world. Furthermore, in the center of Niflheim, beneath the roots of Yggdrasil, lies the spring of Vergelmir, out of which 12 rivers flow, and so on. These are but a few examples of the link within Indo-European mythology between the number 12 and the traditional motif of the world axis. In Wewelsburg Castle's Obergruppenführers Hall, as in the Roman Forum and Athenian Agora, the number 12 marks a sacred boundary that, owing to its association with the zodiac, projects the circumscribed area outside of time and space. Mircea Eliade explains this process in the following terms. The reality of the site is secured through consecration of the ground, i.e. through its transformation into a center. Naturally, the consecration of the center occurs in a space qualitatively different from profane space. Through the paradox of right, every consecrated space coincides with the center of the world, just as the time of any ritual coincides with the mythical time of the beginning. Clearly, the sunwheel of Wewelsburg Castle cannot be reduced to a mere ornament. When designing the Obergruppenführers Hall, Himmler was appealing to an ancient and venerable tradition that, as we will continue to show, predates the Arthurian legend by thousands of years. One of the many meanings of the Black Sun, then, is one of totality. As such, its counterpart in sacred geometry is the dodecahedron with its 12 faces, like those of the 12 Olympians and 12 Aesirs, staring into an immovable pitch-black center. The hub of the cosmic wheel around which the universe rotates like stars across the night sky. Though derailed by the outbreak of war, plans for the construction of an eternal flame placed atop a golden disc in the middle of the sunwheel are attested by the presence of a gas line beneath the room's floor. This mirrors the central fire of Pythagorean astronomy, a hidden or dark sun at the universe's core of which our yellow sun is but a shadow. Aside from Pythagoras, numerous mystics throughout history have described the faraway reaches of the Godhead as wrapped on all sides in darkness. This darkness.
So how he talks about Pythagoras, Pythagoras is always depicted as holding a pyramid.
Is the shroud of an ineffable mystery visible only to the ascetic, who, like Odin, sacrifices his eye so that he may be granted second sight.
So correct me if I'm wrong, when he's saying that Odin sacrifices his eye so he can gain second sight, perhaps he's biting into the fruit of knowledge, of gnosis, so he can, or second sight, so he can attempt to talk to the other realm, or spirits or deities,
so that he may be granted
that has to
second
do with
sight.
gnosis.
Dionysius the Areopagite alluded to the same principle when writing that, by passing beyond everything, yourself included, irresistibly and completely, you will be exalted in pure ecstasy right up to the dark splendor of the divine superessence. Therefore, the Black Sun is so named because, paraphrasing Johannes Tauler, the paths of sense perception will never discover it. Iranian Sufism similarly refers to the divine night, a black light that is the source and origin of all light. For example, in the Rose Garden of Mystery, a 14th century Persian text, it is said that the black color is light of pure ipseity. Within this darkness is the water of life. Ipseity, synonymous here with Meister Eckhart's concept of istikite, or selfness, is the atma, what remains of our being when all that is anatta, or not I, is dissolved. As mentioned in the Rose Garden of Mystery,
right?
The divine night is not an end in itself, but a threshold that must be crossed before one can drink the water of life. Avicenna tells us that perpetual darkness surrounds the pole unpenetrated by any ray of light, but he who fearlessly enters this darkness will emerge into a clearly lighted plain, where he will find this springing fountain. A polar region concealed in perpetual darkness is equivalent to the motif of the inaccessible or hidden land that surfaces in countless Indo-European traditions, otherwise known as Hyperborea. There, behind a veil of obscurity, reigns Yima, the first man, over a city of pure, uncreated light, and where, according to the Avesta, the green never fades, and the golden age never ends. A common initiatic theme in many mystery religions of antiquity related to the image of black light is that of the midnight sun. After being initiated into the cult of Isis, Apuleius declared, Accessi confinium mortis, nocte media vidi solem coruscantem lumine, meaning, I approached the boundaries of death. At midnight I saw the sun shining with its brilliant light. Here, the boundary of death is the selfsame darkness that, for Avicenna, envelops the polar paradise and shields it from decay. By crossing this threshold, by successfully navigating this supernal obscurity, one becomes Dvija, twice born. The 12 rays of the black sun are visible to them alone. When, in his recital of the Occidental exile, Ibn Surawardi speaks of being brought back to life after being cut into pieces, he is alluding to this same second birth. His vision of a sun rising at the edge of darkness announces an inner illumination, pointing the way to the wilderness in the mountains, another clear symbol of centrality. Najim Cobra, another medieval Persian mystic, describes the journey to the pole with the chromatic language of the Hermetic tradition, associating each step of the soul's return with a specific color, witnessing first a darkness of natural existence, then a fiery light, then the green light of the heart. As the symbol of the first stage of the alchemical magnum opus, the black sun, or Sol Niger, is associated with putrefaction or calcination, and signifies the destruction of the physical body. We have already spoken of the link between initiatory death, often expressed in terms of ritual dismemberment, and the color black. In contrast, Cobra's fiery or red light recalls the appearance of Apuleius' midnight sun and signals the completion of the Hermetic great work. For Surawardi as well, beyond the divine night, at the summit of the cosmic mountain, i.e. the mythical pole, where heaven and earth meet, stands the emerald rock. This gem's color is associated with Hyperborea, the land of eternal spring where, as per the Avesta, the green never fades. Even the Book of Revelation associates, in no uncertain terms, this color with the mythical center. And there was a rainbow round about the throne, in sight like unto an emerald. It also bears repeating that the sun wheel mosaic in Wewelsburg Castle is not actually black, but green. In Surawardi's Book of Elucidations, Hermes witnesses the Pillar of Dawn, the midnight sun, bursting forth from its nocturnal tomb, whereupon a voice orders him to seize hold of the cable of the ray of light and rise to the battlements of the throne. He ascended until, we are told, both heaven and earth were beneath his feet. Here the meaning of Hermes' ascent should be obvious. In referring to a region above heaven and earth, we're dealing with the absolute
So look what Hermes is holding. See the snakes?
transcendence of being and non-being alike, the pure unconditioned state or nirvana of the Buddhists, that is the apex of Aryan spiritual practice. As mentioned earlier, the color scheme and indeed the imagery itself, evoked by the Persian Sufis in the mystical accounts of their journey to the pole, can be traced back to the Hermetic tradition. However, less well known is the connection between Sufi mysticism, esoteric alchemy, the Hyperborean mythos, and the Egyptian Amduat. The idea, which we have referenced multiple times in this text, that the black sun is a sort of gateway to a central luminous region, is found nowhere more explicitly than in the Egyptian funerary texts. Chiseled into the tombs of kings, they served a magical purpose, that of ensuring the safe passage of the deceased pharaoh, the embodiment of the sun god Ra, through the underworld. When the declining Ra enters through the western door, like Surawardi's Occidental exile, he does so as an old man. When he returns to the field of offerings in the east, he is rejuvenated. In between, he must travel through 12 caves, symbolizing the 12 hours of the night from 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. In the 12th cave, 12 goddesses, 6 on each side, surround a child, heralding the sun god's imminent rise. Upon entering the thick darkness, Ra is bound to the material sun which he represents, obliged to follow its nocturnal trajectory. Yet he emerges from the underworld at the 12th hour, having defeated time as a being of pure, uncreated light. In the meantime, however, he must undergo a series of trials of the Orphic type. At the 4th hour, Ra enters Rosatau, the tomb of Osiris, amidst the deepest darkness and silence. The exit is blocked by doors like knives, a familiar initiatory motif known as the Dangerous Passage. Ra enters the Black Sun and begins his fusion with Osiris, the Living One, an identification that will ultimately enable him to traverse the Death Chamber. Of the nature of this chamber, a spell that forms part of the so-called coffin texts relates the following. This is the sealed thing which is in darkness, with fire about it, which contains the efflux of Osiris, and it is put in Rosatau. It has been hidden since it fell from him, and it is what has come down from him onto the desert of sand. Considering that Osiris, the green-skinned god of the afterlife, is associated with natural and supernatural rebirth, there is a striking similarity between the location of the efflux of Osiris, according to the coffin texts, and that of the water of life, which, as mentioned in the Persian Rose Garden of Mystery, is also concealed within darkness. Notice also that the above-mentioned spell contains the exact black-red-green color scheme utilized by Cobra and Surawardi in describing their ecstatic journey to the center. A second trial, similar to the Hall of Knives of the 4th hour, is found in the 5th cave. Ra must navigate a subterranean lake, the contents of which appear simultaneously as a soothing tonic to the just and impassable flames to the heavy-hearted. This, of course, is reminiscent of the dual properties ascribed to the Holy Grail and countless other analogous objects in the Hyperborean mythos. Those who cling to what is anatta are obliterated, for the water to those who are in the necropolis is fire. Interestingly, in Heracles' 6th labor, the midpoint of his trials, an analogous scene is presented. In his quest to slay the Stymphalian birds, the fabled hero is unable to cross a treacherous swamp, sinking further with every step due to his own weight. The meaning of this heaviness should be fairly clear. By means of a magic rattle, a gift from the deathless Athena, Heracles draws the steel-winged birds from their lair and slays them with arrows, symbolic, as is the rattle, of shamanic flight and of leaving the body. Note the similarity in passing between a flurry of birds with sharp wings and the hall of knives of the Duat. In the sixth cave of the underworld, in other words, at midnight, the fusion of the souls of Ra and Osiris is complete. Noon, the primordial ocean from whence all waters come, washes away all distinctions between light and darkness, and those between the beginning and the end of the solar cycle, the superposition of which is symbolized by the appearance of the midnight sun. Ra crosses the boundaries of death by being dismembered by proxy through his identification with Osiris, the one who was ritually cut into pieces the first time. The black sun is then inundated by the green ray, the efflux of the green-skinned god, and, seizing hold of its cables like Hermes, it begins its ascent towards the eastern horizon. A spell from the Coughing texts relates, in unambiguous terms, the effects of the emerald vision, the green ray of the Persian Sufis, on those who witness it. He who sees the dead Osiris will never die. Panning out, it is revealed that all along, the 12 caves of the Duat were merely segments of the great snake Ouroboros, the world encircler. The voyage from the western to the eastern door is made circular as the snake coils up on itself. At the point where its tail meets its mouth, heaven and earth collide and a gateway to the pole is opened. Ra's triumphant passage through the 12 caves mirrors the 12 victories of Heracles and those of the Buddha who, having transcended the 12 Nidana, escape from the circle of life and death. To the Occidental exile traveling through an increasingly unfamiliar landscape, the essence of the black sun, the sealed thing which is in darkness, is a promise of escape from the burning, shifting sands. His journey to the center is fraught with peril. Before reaching the Emerald Isle, he must first traverse a black ocean, past the wrecks of 1,000 ships. At midnight, a lighthouse guides another boat ashore and disappears. Once again, perpetual darkness covers the pole.
So I thought they were going to cover, obviously nobody's going to talk about this, but in Egypt, anytime they had a new pharaoh, when they put that pharaoh inside of the, not the tomb, but the vault to become pharaoh, they had a spirit partner. And what they didn't tell them is that this spirit partner, there's two that go in there. One becomes the new pharaoh, the king. The other one is sacrificed, raped, and then beaten in front of the other one. And that one soul goes up, and then the other one becomes a pharaoh.
The Roman statesman and philosopher Marcus Cicero called Saturn Phaenon, a word meaning shining. Saturn is where we get our name for Saturday, and Saturnalia was probably the most popular festival of the Roman calendar, characterized by revelry and orgy. Jupiter was called the son of Saturn. The tale of Zeus or Jupiter and Kronos or Saturn is quite well known. Kronos, who had castrated his own father, Uranus, with a sickle, swallowed all his children by Rhea as soon as they were born for fear that one would overthrow him. That was until Rhea contrived to smuggle the infant Zeus away. He grew up on Mount Ida, suckled by a goat, and grew up to overthrow his father. Saturn, with his sickle, was associated with the harvest, the passing of seasons, of a timeless era of plenty and bounty before time, a golden age. His devouring of his children taken as an allegory for the passing of generations. That Zeus was spared this fate of being devoured can be interpreted as his generation not being devoured by time, but instead everlasting, like the evergreen tree used now as the Christmas tree, green year-round. Christmas being the modern version of Saturnalia, the traditional time of rebirth and renewal, when the shortest day of the year and the longest night is passed after the winter solstice, and the days start becoming longer again. The solar year is reborn, like a phoenix, or later the eagle, the sign of Jupiter, the planet that has a 12-year cycle passing through the 12 houses or constellations of the zodiac. Saturn takes 28 to 30 years to complete a full cycle. Because Saturn is a symbol of wisdom, which grows with age, its cycle has been seen as particularly important in reflecting our development. Every 7 years, Saturn completes a quarter of the cycle, and we move into a new stage of awareness. The renewal of light and the coming of the year was celebrated in the Roman Empire as the Dies Natalis of Sol Invictus, or the birthday of the unconquerable sun, on December 25th.
In the northern hemisphere during late December, the days are at their shortest lengths and the nights are at their longest. For those of the pagan world, this has always been the greatest time of the year to celebrate and practice the works of darkness. The pagan calendar identifies this period as the winter solstice. It was during the pre-Christian midwinter pagan celebrations of Scandinavia's Norsemen where today's Christmas traditions began. As a means of honoring the pagan sex and fertility god Yule, a 12-day celebration during the month of December was inaugurated. A large single log considered to be a phallic idol was lit on fire and kept burning for 12 days. Animal or human sacrifice.
A phallic idol? So phallic worship? Interesting.
Sacrifices were offered in the fire on each of those days. Wild, delirious reveling accompanied the daily sacrifices as drunken participants defiantly strove to make contact with spirits. 1,000 miles away in pre-Christian Rome, celebrants were paying homage to their own gods during the winter solstice. Witchcraft traditions hold that a number of pagan gods were given birth during this period, including Dionysus, Attis, and Baal, chief male god of fertility and licentiousness.
Baal. Keep that in mind.
Another pagan god from Persia, identified as Mithra, was said to have been born specifically on December 25th. Mithra was the god of the unconquerable sun, the god of the light between heaven and earth, worshipped at that time by an influential Roman cult. His birth symbolized an end to the long nights and a return to the dominance of the sun. During the month-long winter solstice celebration, courts in Rome were closed. Any and all crimes were allowed. Homosexuality, cross-dressing, and uncontrolled debauchery reigned supreme. Rome's order was turned upside down. Even children were allowed to join in the drunken orgies as part of the Juvenalia celebration. By 270 AD, the Roman Emperor Aurelian had made it official, setting aside a 7-day period from December the 17th through the 24th, culminating in an exchange of gifts on December the 25th to celebrate the birth of the sun god. This Roman orgy to end all orgies later became known as Saturnalia, in honor of the god Saturn, the god of excess. Roman soldiers invading Britain brought with them their pagan orgiastic traditions. Upon taking root in England, Saturnalia became known as the Festival of Fools, reigned over by the Lord of Misrule. By the 4th century, the influential government-sanctioned Church of Rome, unable to outlaw the growing number of pagan practices, chose instead to adopt them into their so-called official Christianity. The Church believed this would attract more pagans to their fold. Up until this time, the birthday of Jesus Christ, the Jewish Messiah, had not been celebrated at all. Ignoring scriptures, however, indicating that the birth probably did not occur during the winter, the Church nevertheless confused biblical history and made Jesus' birthday coincide with the pagan god Mithra. The birth date of the sun god had now become the birth date of the sun of God. It was hoped that the pagan celebrations of Saturnalia would merge into this new legally sanctioned form of Christianity. The Church's practice of changing the dates of Christian events to coincide with pagan festivals continued, and by the 7th century, Pope Gregory I had ordered Augustine of Canterbury to incorporate any and all pagan practices and customs into the expanding Roman Catholic Church. During the Middle Ages, the debased Mardi Gras atmosphere...
See, this is why it's very hard to pick a denomination, because you see what the Catholic Church did, and then you have all these other denominations. It's kind of fucked up, to be honest with you. So, I mean, I would just read the Bible, and like, if you follow the teachings of Jesus Christ, you'll probably go to heaven. But if you follow the church, chances are we both know where you're going.
Of what was now known as Christ's Mass had reached a fevered pitch. Common practices included open sex in the streets, rioting, murder, and a number of pagan druidic Halloween rituals. This blood-drenched celebration got so out of hand that by 1652, following the execution of King Charles I, Christ's Mass was finally outlawed in England. A religious reform movement began sweeping the country, led by Puritan Oliver Cromwell. The Puritans took the biblical mandate seriously, which commanded that Christianity remain pure and separate from paganism. Despite their noble efforts, the celebration simply went underground, and by 1656, after only 4 short years under the ban, the public's demand for the legalization of Christ's Mass had become insurmountable. The appointment of Charles II to the throne restored England's monarchy, and with it the celebration of Christ's Mass. The Puritans had lost England, but they held high hopes for the New World. Following England's lead in 1659, the colonies of America had likewise outlawed Christmas. For 200 years, the clergy in New England battled to keep the riotous celebrations honoring the pagan god Saturn from infiltrating the New World. The Reverend Cotton Mather had warned in a Christmas Day sermon in 1712, "Can you in your conscience think that your holy Savior is honored by hard drinking, lewd reveling, and by a mass fit for none but Bacchus or Saturn?" But the public's taste for sin and revelry persisted. In 1828, gang rioting during the Saturnalia-like Christmas celebrations got so bad that cities such as New York were forced to institute a professional police force for the first time in order to control the savagery.
Christmas was not only not widely celebrated, in many cases, many places, Christmas celebrations were actually outlawed.
By the mid-19th century, American churches were the last remaining holdout in the war against the validation of Christmas. However, they too finally succumbed as a result of the efforts of the American Sunday School Society, who began advocating Christmas programs for children as a method of filling the pews. The society argued that children could be taught about the birth of Christ through the reenactment of the Nativity. They also offered candy and treats to the children as a means of enticing families into accepting the holiday, despite its notorious history and blatantly pagan roots. The successful technique of bribing children with candy would
Halloween, I
later
was
be
thinking the
used
same
on
thing.
an unsuspecting American populace in the effort to promote the acceptance of the pagan rituals of Halloween. However, it was the work of England's most popular writer, Charles Dickens, whose ghostly 1843 book, A Christmas Carol, cemented the Christmas holiday in the hearts of Americans forever. By 1875, the Puritans had been beaten, and by 1890, all American states had voted to make Christmas a legal holiday. Today's tradition of the Christmas Yule log stems directly from the worship of the pre-Christian Scandinavian fertility god Yule.
Another good example of the pagan elements of Christmas is the whole concept of Yule and the Yule log. The very term is derived from a Norse god, Yule, spelled J-U-L. And every year around Christmas time, a huge log was cut down and fashioned into a fertility symbol, and then burned for 12 days. And on each successive day, a new sacrifice to the god Yule was performed in the fire, and a new sacrificial victim was burned to death. Sometimes, but not always, these sacrificial victims were human beings.
Mistletoe, when used in the casting of Wiccan or Druidic spells, could render a woman helpless and open to sexual exploitation. This is where we get our custom of hanging mistletoe in doorways today, and if a woman is caught underneath, she may be kissed and must not resist.
The fir tree.
Did you see that? So the whole thing about mistletoe, you know how you're with your girl and you say like, oh, mistletoe, and you kiss her? Isn't that fucked up?
The mistletoe. All of these things typically come from overtly pagan traditions, typically from Northern Europe, German, Norse, and English.
Likewise, evergreen trees have always represented sex and fertility in pagan cultures. During the winter solstice, trees would be chopped down.
So sex and fertility, like phallic, so they're like pointing up, like penis, like your penis.
Cultures. During the winter solstice, trees would be chopped down, brought inside, set up, and decorated as idols for worship.
The Christmas tree was regarded as a sacred tree. The pagans of Northern Europe typically worshipped trees. They regarded trees and groves as sacred. So the bringing of the tree into the house would be a way of bringing this supernatural source of blessing into your home. That was the whole idea, that there were spirits who resided in the trees.
In the Middle Ages, the tradition of the winter solstice Christmas tree primarily took root in Germany. During his reign, King George I, himself of German extraction, brought the custom to Victorian England. German immigrants settling in Pennsylvania did the same in America during the early 1800s. The concept of Santa Claus has had a long and winding history, with a number of diverse cultures contributing to the composite character we have today. Beginning once again in Scandinavia, Santa's original incarnation was in the form of Odin. Odin would travel the sky during the winter solstice, deciding who would die and who would prosper. Most believers were frightened of this particular time of year. In England, Odin eventually evolved into Father Christmas, who, crowned with sprigs of holly, travelled the countryside getting roaring drunk as part of the Festival of Fools celebration. Frequently, he would be accompanied by a horned goat, ironically the biblical symbol of those who reject the salvation.
So let's take a look, like horns. So that symbolizes like horniness
Of Jesus Christ. Recognized in various cultures as Krampus, Beelzebub, or Zwart Piet, Black Peter, this
Beelzebub, Baal, Krampus, and like the German.
assistant of St. Nicholas is best known by his German name, Knecht Ruprecht. Described as a hideous horned creature, the servant Ruprecht was a dark and sinister figure who stood in part of the Festival of Fools celebration. Frequently, he would be accompanied by a horned goat, ironically the biblical symbol of those who reject the salvation of
So this one's cut off, but the light right here, flame.
Jesus Christ.
And then this is cut off as well, but as above, so is below. It's an illusion though, but it's the same thing. So you have the light and then the dark down here. We'll find a better picture later.
Recognized in various cultures as Krampus, Beelzebub, or Zwart Piet, Black Peter, this assistant of St. Nicholas is best known by his German name, Knecht Ruprecht. Described as a hideous horned creature, the servant Ruprecht was a dark and sinister figure who stood in stark contrast to the saintly Nicholas. Somehow, Father Christmas's companion, the horned goat, had metamorphosized into the foreboding horned devil called Ruprecht. As St. Nicholas traveled from house to house, inquiring about the behavior of children, Ruprecht would drop candy and gifts down the chimney into the good children's shoes which had been placed there. It was from this story that we get our tradition of hanging stockings on the mantle at Christmas time. If able to recite a verse or demonstrate a skill for St. Nicholas, the child would receive a gift. If unable to remember a verse, or if the child had been bad, he or she would receive a switch or a whip. Ruprecht also carried a large sack which he would frequently use to haul away the really bad boys and girls. 19th century writer Theodore Storm, in his story about Knecht Ruprecht, even goes so far as to describe the switches given to the children by Ruprecht as tools to be used in sadomasochistic rituals.
Numen is the Latin term for divinity, or divine presence, divine will, or divine mind. Kronos, or Saturn, was also seen as a universal numen in certain esoteric interpretations, which signifies the hidden, called by Latin Deus Latius, the hidden God, or in other words, the occult principle of all things. According to Varro, an ancient Roman scholar and writer, and I quote, "He that produceth out of himself the hidden seeds and forms of all things, and swalloweth them up into himself again." From here we may enter into a deeper understanding of the ancient mysteries. Some of who we today call pagans believe God to be diffused throughout all things. Plato himself approved of worshiping the invisible God in the sun, moon, and stars as visible images. The Zohar explains the term Ein Sof as follows, and I quote, "Before he gave any shape to the world, before he produced any form, he was alone, without form, and without resemblance to anything else. Who then can comprehend how he was before the creation? Hence it is forbidden to lend him any form or similitude, or even to call him by his sacred name, or to indicate him by a single letter or a single point." Honorary 33rd degree Freemason Manly P. Hall said, and I quote, "The Kabbalists conceive of the supreme deity as an incomprehensible principle to be discovered only through the process of eliminating, in order, all of its cognizable attributes. That which remains, when every knowable thing has been removed, is Ein Sof, the eternal state of being. Although indefinable, the absolute permeates all space. Abstract to the degree of inconceivability, Ein Sof is an unconditioned state of all things. Substances, essences, and intelligences are manifested out of the inscrutability of Ein Sof. But the Absolute itself is without substance, essence, or intelligence." Ein Sof was referred to by Kabbalists as the most ancient of all the ancients. It was always considered as sexless. Its symbol was a closed eye.
We're going to talk about this later.
According to the Kabbalah, Ein Sof Or is the limitless light, an empty, black, silent void that expands itself into boundless proportions, filling itself with metaphysical substance various philosophers have named luminiferous ether, or an electromagnetic azoth. This liquid light substance is an invisible, electromagnetic, radiant energy. Its vibratory emanations are far too subtle to be perceived by or through any of our dense senses. Being an invisible black light, 6,000 years ago the high priests of ancient Egypt declared, "Behold, our God is a black god, too brilliant for mortal eyes." This might help to explain not only the black Osiris, but also the black Madonna, the black Kali, and other deities associated with darkness. That said, the white Osiris is the manifest, physical universe we perceive and which the Bible calls day. Modern physicists now declare physical substance fundamentally to be comprised of a light substance in vibration. They have yet to declare just what this light vibration might be, however. The smallest physical particle for years has been known as the quark. More recently, an even smaller particle has been revealed, and this science is labeled dark matter. Ein Sof Ur is that dark matter.
So they haven't even proved gravity yet. So if you like Google this, they talk about how gravity is like 90% dark matter, but they can't tell you what it is or where it comes from.
The night, or dark matter, is the ocean of black liquid light, a living, omniscient, omnipotent, omnipresent substance permeating every aspect of all manifest and unmanifest levels of experience. It is absent nowhere, filling all space, filling mineral, vegetable, animal, human kingdoms, and kingdoms beyond. A continuing emanation. Every point exudes its own light and life. Alchemists call this their universal first matter, universal mercury. This is the substance of creation from no thing. The Hindu equivalent to Ein Sof Ur is Mula Prakriti, the root matter. Alchemists from all periods have given it any number of different names, but the principal, one designation has always been simply water, but a permanent water. My name is Robert Sepper. I'm an independent anthropologist and author. My books are published on Amazon.com. Please consider making a donation to Atlantean Gardens if you'd like to support my work. Thank you for sharing this video and subscribing if you haven't already. Please leave a comment and I will see you next time.
Yeah, Robert Zephyr is actually really good. There was a good video by Gigi Young, actually. However, I couldn't find it. Let's look up something real quick before this starts, the Nazi symbolism. Because I want to look up the rituals that the Ukrainian soldiers were doing. They probably scrubbed it. Well, back to our regularly scheduled programming. So, there you see we got earth, air, fire, water.
There are 5 symbols that are most closely associated with the National Socialists, but you may be surprised that they were not created by them. They are the swastika, the eagle, the right arm salute, the death's head, and the SS runes. All are politically sensitive today and are banned in some countries. But what are the stories behind them? Where did they originate? And how did they end up appropriated by the Nazis? Let's begin with the most contentious, the swastika. I lived in Asia for 10 years, and I saw swastikas almost every week. They are most commonly found on religious buildings, but are used in many aspects of life in Asia. Originating in India, this remarkable symbol meant good luck until used by the Nazis. Swastika is derived from the Sanskrit word svastika, which means conducive to well-being. Many different forms of the swastika are to be found in Hinduism, Buddhism, and Jainism, all positive and spiritual symbols. In Europe, the swastika has many names. In Germany, it is called the Hakenkreuz, or hooked cross. It has represented gods such as Zeus in ancient Greece, Jupiter in the Roman Empire, and Thor in ancient Germanic religion. In North America, the swastika was commonly used for the same reason, as a positive symbol of good luck. Many Native American tribes used it, primarily the Navajo, Sioux, Hopi, and Passamaquoddy peoples. Before World War II, it was even the symbol of the United States 45th Infantry Division, worn as a shoulder patch. I grew up in the English county of Essex, and the City Hall in Chelmsford is covered in swastikas to this day, and none of it has anything to do with National Socialism.
They never took it down.
The adoption of this symbol by the Nazis was a masterful piece of marketing, perhaps the most successful logo in history. After all, no matter where you are in the world, if you see a swastika, and regardless of its use, you can't help but think of Nazis, even 80 years later. So of course Hitler didn't invent the swastika, rather he adapted a symbol already common in Europe for many centuries for his own purposes. Hitler created the Nazi Party image in 1925 after much trial and error, taking a black swastika facing right, turned 45 degrees, inside a white circle against a red background. The colours deliberately echo the old German imperial flag, while the cross represented a race emblem for the German people, an Aryan symbol. In this again, Hitler was not original, for the swastika had first been used in Germany with this symbolism in 1907 on the flag of the Order of the New Templars, an Austrian nationalist secret society. It is tragic that a religious symbol thousands of years old, that symbolizes so many positive things, has been permanently defamed because of just 20 years' use by the Nazis. There are calls today to rehabilitate the swastika, but Nazi imagery endures very strongly, and it is unlikely that this will happen anytime soon. Next up, we have the Nazi eagle, or Reichsadler, which is actually far older than the Third Reich period. As with many Nazi symbols, it was expropriated from German history and tradition and then modified. Reichsadler means imperial eagle, and the earliest examples date from the Holy Roman Empire, who themselves copied it from the Roman army's eagle standard, which represented strength and unity. The Order of the Teutonic Knights displayed an imperial eagle on their coat of arms. This black eagle was later used by the state of Prussia between 1466 and 1772, and then formed the basis of the arms of the Kingdom of Prussia until 1918. The Reichsadler came to be seen as the symbol of German unity. The single-headed eagle became the insignia of the German Empire, and following World War I and the abolition of the monarchy, the Weimar Republic used the eagle as well.
So maybe Twitch
After
just
Hitler
went
came-
down? Maybe because I'm watching this video?
Into power in 1933, the stylized eagle with the Nazi swastika in its talons became the official national emblem from 1935 onwards.
Oh, they
Nazis
stopped my stream
used
for
two-
watching this. Apparently you can't watch this. Alright, so apparently it disconnected, which is a little weird because we just started that video. And right when we started that video, our channel got disconnected, which is weird. So we'll see. I'm going to try to get back on now, wait for people to come back in. I don't want to skip that video, to be completely honest with you. Like, I want to keep watching it, but apparently the Matrix is attacking me. Nah, I'm fucking with you guys, but hey, that might be it. Honestly, that might be it. We have more to talk about, so let's see. Well, we're back on both platforms. I'm gonna finish the video, to be honest with you. I don't think it's against TOS. This is a documentary. We're watching a documentary. It's on YouTube. Shouldn't be against TOS. So let's get back to it.
Types of eagle. The Parteiadler, or party eagle, looking to its left shoulder, was the symbol of the NSDAP. The Reichsadler looked to its right shoulder and was a national symbol of Germany. Interestingly, in 1950, the Reichsadler was resurrected by the Federal Republic of Germany. Today called the Bundesadler, it is an official German government symbol, demonstrating that the eagle remains a central motif of German national identity right up to the present day. The stiff right arm salute, or during the Nazi period, the German greeting, is another image that the Nazis adopted from history. It has long been suggested that the Romans began the practice of the stiff right-arm salute, though no documentary evidence for this has ever emerged in 2,000 years. In fact, the salute was probably attributed to the Romans by the 18th century painter Jacques-Louis David, who used it in his famous painting Oath of the Horatii in 1784. During the 19th and 20th centuries, the salute was further associated with the Romans by artists and playwrights. This artistic invention tipped over into silent film, appearing on the screen in the 1914 Italian movie Cabiria, written by an Italian ultranationalist, Gabriele D'Annunzio. So this French-invented salute was adopted in Italy by ultranationalists, including Benito Mussolini's fascists.
Wow.
In 1923, some Nazi Party members used this salute to greet Hitler, and in 1926 it became compulsory. It was not universally popular among early Nazis. Some thought it an Italian gesture, and therefore un-Germanic. So Deputy Führer Rudolf Hess published an article in 1928 claiming erroneously that the salute had been used by the party since 1921 and was a good fascist gesture. From 1933, all Germans had to use this salute.
Very good documentary on Netflix as well.
The SS symbol, the Totenkopf, or death's head, is far older than the Nazi period and was and still is used in some countries as an army symbol that has no connection to National Socialism. It's yet another symbol that the Nazis adopted from history for their own purposes. King Frederick the Great of Prussia first used the Totenkopf as a military emblem when he formed a regiment of hussars. The unit also wore black uniforms. In 1809, another German state, Braunschweig or Brunswick, also formed a black uniformed hussar regiment that wore the Totenkopf. The skull badge was worn as a sign of revenge against the French. This unit fought alongside the Duke of Wellington, the Battle of Waterloo, in 1815. With the creation of the German Empire, the Totenkopf continued in military service, most famously the Prussian Death's Head Hussars, an elite cavalry force. Several members of the German imperial family were members of this regiment. During World War I, the Totenkopf was again worn as a regimental badge in action. In 1919, the emblem was used by the Freikorps, right-wing German paramilitaries that fought against communism in post-war Germany. It was next used during the Weimar Republic by the 5th Cavalry Regiment, continuing the traditions of the old imperial cavalry. It first appeared in the early Nazi period as the insignia of the Stabswache, Hitler's early bodyguard unit. The unit was eventually renamed the Schutzstaffel, or SS,
Heinrich Himmler,
and continued to use the German imperial symbol on its caps. But during World War II, the Totenkopf was not only limited to the SS.
They called Heinrich Himmler the backroom boy because he was responsible for everything in the background.
Regular army's long cavalry tradition saw it also used as an army panzer uniform.
He went back to living with his parents after everyone fled the Nazi Party.
Badge. Outside of Germany, the Death's Head is still used today. The British Army's Royal Lancers cap badge and motto form the saying "Death or Glory." The Royal Air Force's number 100 squadron uses a skull and crossbones symbol, while the United States Marine Corps reconnaissance battalions use it, as well as the South Korean 3rd Infantry Division. The SS, as the personification of Heinrich Himmler's pseudo-scientific Aryan Superman,
And then the SS, their suits were made by Hugo
Germanic
Boss.
runes, attempting to draw a line back to some pagan Northern European Germanic myths and legends. The most famous runic symbol they used was that of the SS itself, the
lightning
Doppelter
bolts.
Siegrune. Originally, the lightning-shaped rune represented the sun, but an early precursor to the Nazi movement, the Völkisch movement of the 19th century, changed its meaning to represent Sieg, or victory, hence its name today, the Siegrune. Fast forward to 1933, and the SS required a symbol that was both memorable and symbolic. SS officer Walter Heck, who was a graphic designer in Bonn, decided on the Siegrune, but doubled and placed side by side like lightning bolts. In a clever play on words, the runes represent both the name SS and the rallying cry from the Völkisch movement, reinterpretation of the rune as Victory, Victory. Many thanks for watching. Please subscribe and share, and also visit my audiobook channel, War Stories with Mark Felton. You can also help to support both of my channels at PayPal and Patreon. Details in the...
Alright, enough shilling. We might save this for last, actually. Let's move on to Baal.
Who is Baal? What do we know about the religion surrounding this Canaanite deity? And how did it affect those in the Old Testament? Before we explore what Scripture says about Baal, let's establish a brief depiction of the Canaanite deity. Baal was the title of the god worshipped in ancient Canaan and Phoenicia. The worship of Baal penetrated Jewish religious life during the period of the Judges, became common in Israel during the rule of Ahab, and also influenced Judah. Baal is a Canaanite and Phoenician deity, and the son of the chief god El. In artistic depictions and archaeological finds, Baal took the shape of a bull or ram and had associations with fertility. This god also, apparently according to Canaanite lore, defeated El and had associations with the sun and thunder. And of all the foreign gods the Israelites came into contact with, they appeared to struggle the most with worshiping this one. What does the Bible say about Baal? No doubt, we can't cover the breadth of verses on Baal here, but we should note that Baal becomes a big player in the book of Judges, and during the time of the kings when Israel appears to succumb most to the foreign pantheons. For instance, Hezekiah's son rebuilds the shrines of Baal and the Canaanite goddess Asherah that Hezekiah had torn down. He rebuilt the high places his father, Hezekiah, had destroyed. He also erected altars to Baal and made an Asherah pole as Ahab, king of Israel, had done. He bowed down to all the starry hosts and worshipped them. 2 Kings 21:3. One of the most famous instances of Israel going head-to-head with the prophets of Baal comes from 1 Kings 18. In this chapter, the prophet Elijah and the prophets of Baal have a showdown to prove the power of their god and gods. Elijah remains silent during the exchange, whereas God showers a sopping wet altar with fire. All 450 prophets of Baal do not escape the slaughter that takes place after that.
This is the old Olympic
In
ceremony.
short,
We're going to watch that
Scripture
as well.
has nothing positive to say about Baal. Most often, it condemns Baal worship. An example of Israel going after Baal leads to their loss of direction and, ultimately, scattering at the hands of the Assyrians and the Babylonians. A brief history of Baal and how it affected the Jewish people. If anyone could get an award for having the worst neighbors, it would most likely go to the ancient Israelites. It seemed they couldn't border a single person who didn't try to destroy them or convince them to worship their own gods. And that happened with the Canaanites and Baal. Archaeological excavations have dated information about Baal back as far as the 2nd millennium BC, and the spread of Baal worship caught fire in Egypt in 1400 BC. But it could have existed long before that, when God established the law, including laws against eating pork, since pig slaughter and sacrifice were a hallmark of Baal worship.
Most people don't know that. They think that only Muslims don't eat pork, but it's also in the Bible.
Baal worship also included, at times, child sacrifice, which we see some Israelite kings engaging with later on. Despite God's efforts to dissuade them, the Israelites engaged with the Canaanite culture a little too much and adopted their practices, including Baal worship. Even as the Canaanite religion waned, Baal took on a new role as Zeus in the ancient Greek pantheon. Not only do the Jews have to deal with the abomination of Zeus and Antiochus Epiphanes IV, but the Greek pantheon later gets repeated in the Roman pantheon, and practices from both the Greeks and Romans still exist today. Why does this matter? Evil practices never go away. They simply evolve. Baal transformed into Zeus, who transformed into Jupiter. In addition to Baal still influencing religions and pagan practices today, we must take note of what happened to the Israelites and vigilantly watch our churches. How many pagan ideas have we let seep in? What modern-day Baals have we worshipped in place of God? It may seem easy to point the finger at the ancient Israel.
So I'm going to fix one thing real quick with the stream. Give me 1 second. And this always happens with Kick. I do not know why. So I'm just going to edit it real quick. If anyone knows how to fix that, like your stream title before streaming, or, you know, when it goes back on Kick, just let me know. So I don't know how to fix it.
Israelites and say, how could you let a bull statue into Israel? How could you worship Baal? But if we don't exercise extreme discernment, we may find ourselves doing the same with modern-day Baals.
Thank you for watching. Let me know what you think in the...
Alright, so Commonwealth Games. Let's take a look at this.
The noise, the characters, the invention. This was an industrial area. The Black Country, so called because of all the black smoke thrown out by its factories, the furnaces that glowed red at night. There was a dark side to the Industrial Revolution, a darker side to the bull ring.
There was. female chain makers of the Industrial Revolution were underpaid and overworked. And not only were they responsible for making some of the chains used in the slave trade, but they too were enslaved by their terrible circumstances.
And now, enter the bull.
As the beat pounds to remind us of the relentless drive of industry, they drag into the Alexander Stadium a beast, a bull, 10 meters high, heavily armored.
That shit's creepy as fuck.
Now scarred by past hurt and enraged by injustice, the bull breaks free and causes pandemonium. And in a parallel act of emancipation, the women break their own chains.
Bulls were baited and sold here in the city centre for centuries, and his armoured mask features the names of the chain makers embossed upon it from those dark days.
Thanks for the follow, Amelia.
So who now can calm the bull? Not Ginny Lemon, she's escaped in her balloon. It's no doubt going to be up to Stella and the Dreamers to try and halt the bull.
The Dreamers have stayed, and they're about to offer compassion to a very scared icon of this city.
Like, it just gives you like an eerie feeling, doesn't it, when you watch this shit? They're trying to make it seem like it's peaceful now. You're going to hell, you stupid bitch.
Certainly one of the most striking images of the show so far. It's a very How to Train Your Dragon moment. This is Stella offers friendship and compassion to tame the beast.
Don't go out and try this in a field, but in Stella's single action, we can see that we're all worthy of love, whoever we are, and whatever our circumstances may be.
Yes, behind it all, the idea of breaking free from oppression and enslavement and of moving forward together. Admirably lofty aims here in Birmingham.
You hear how they're saying breaking free from oppression? It's not breaking free. Baal is trying to liberate you. Liberate you from what? It's not liberation. Liberation from God.
This evening.
And so, freed from their bonds, the women and the bull leave the shackles of the past behind. Not surprised.
Look, it's not over. Doesn't it feel creepy? Don't you have goosebumps when watching this? It's weird.
But the bull, once calm, is now injured again.
Stella and our athlete Dreamers call for a moment of reflection and of light, as she and the bull call for a moment of reconciliation. All is stilled.
It's time for the shards to work their magic again. Stella and the Dreamers used them to call for a moment of reflection and
this is also karmic
reconciliation.
retribution, so they believe that if they show you what they're doing, that they're not going to face any consequences.
Briefly thought that was Jenny Lemon coming back.
In fact, it's the chain makers that we saw earlier. And they lift away the bull's armor, the symbol of his enslavement and theirs. And he will be revealed as an iconic symbol of light, just as the names of the women chain makers who fought for their rights and better working conditions in the early 1900s will be lit up around the track and on the main stage tower.
So together, along with Stella and the Dreamers, they will heal the hurt and they will lift away the bull's armor to reveal him as a symbol of light and love. The now free and at peace Bull of Birmingham really is the symbol for this Commonwealth Games.
Look at they're bowing.
He will, by the way, have a permanent place in the theatrical and inspiring open ceremony and these games.
I don't know who these people are at the bottom, though, to be honest with you. They're all women. Okay, so that's over. Now let's move on. We're gonna move on to Moloch, Baal, same shit, really, if you think about it, and how this infects Hollywood and celebrities. So this is a video on Whoa Vicky. I'm sure you've seen this before, but let's react to it.
Like in Hollywood, if you in the industry, the devil, they like Illuminati, all that shit, they try to get you. Especially when you got a big influence, you around that shit. They try to get anybody, but you just gotta be smart and have discernment and have God's favor over you. Cause if you don't got that and you in Cali, you gonna get sucked in. Well, let me tell you, what they do is they invite you to these parties, these house parties, and then they be like, oh, Whoop the Whoop gonna be there, like your favorite rapper, the big ass person, and Whoop the Whoop gonna be there. Oh, before you get in, you gotta give us your phones and all this shit, and then they might do some gay shit to somebody.
Yeah, they take
like,
your
try
phone.
to like and record
They'll
it.
record
and tell
you.
them, oh, if you expose us, we gonna post it everywhere. And I know that from word of ear, but I know they do a lot of crazy shit in these house parties. Let me tell you an experience I went through personally. So I was with some friends in LA, and it was this big influencer party. Should I say her name?
She doesn't say it. I don't think she does.
It was Bella Thorne party. So,
Oh, shit.
So I got invited from some other friends. it was on Halloween. I already don't celebrate Halloween. That's the devil's day. But I happened to be with them and they was going. I was like, fuck it, let's go. So it already was a lot of signs. The party said you have to be half naked. I'm like, first of all, I ain't going half naked nowhere. Second of all, it was like a lot of signs that was adding up that night. Like the same night on Hollywood Boulevard, the party was off Hollywood Boulevard, some guy got shot and killed on Hollywood Boulevard, so the whole street was shut down. So that was another sign. So then we get to the party. So we get up there. They talking about, oh yeah, you can't bring your phone in. I'm like, first of all, who ain't bringing their phone in? I'm bringing my motherfucking phone in. I don't give a fuck who you is. It could have been Kim Kardashian, and I'm bringing my phone. And then you got to sign some papers. What am I signing some
NDA,
shit for to get into a party? Like, what? This is where it really threw me off. They said they had to prick your blood to get in.
Blood magic.
I said, oh no, I'm good. Everyone else went, I called my Uber and left. Like, that's the shit where I think they be trying to get you. And like, if it's like you gotta think about it, people move to LA for a dream. They chasing money, fame, clout, whatever. So they gotta think about it, somebody, a young girl that's trying to get on and just moved out there, she gon', oh hell yeah, Bella Thorne, and then you don't know who else in there, like, connections. Me, I'm good, like, that shit gonna come naturally. I don't gotta prick my finger, take my blood to get into a party. If it's meant to happen, it's gonna happen. I'm not finna do no something like that.
All right, let's go more into Hollywood or the music industry. I like this filter, this old TV filter. A lot of channels use it.
Good evening. Elvis Presley died today. He was 42. Apparently it was a heart attack. He was found at his home in Memphis, not breathing.
Well, 24 years ago today, iconic rapper Tupac Shakur was shot here in Las Vegas.
The rapper was shot inside of a BMW while stopped at a red light on Koval and Flamingo. And we all know the story. He then died 6 days later.
Kurt Cobain, the lead singer of the enormously popular rock band Nirvana, is dead at the age of 27.
Atlanta-based rapper Takeoff, real name Kirshnik Kari Baal, has died, according to police, after he was shot at a bowling alley in Houston.
It's hard to keep up with Sam Smith's identities, but last night's Grammys, they, as Smith now prefers to be called, identified as Satan.
Blood Sneakers, Lil Nas X's collaboration with art collective Mischief. The 666 pair of sneakers feature gold pentagrams, inverted crosses, as well as human blood inside the sole.
Katy Perry performs Dark Horse at the Grammys.
I wanted to be like the Amy Grant of music. Yeah. But it didn't work out, and so I
hope they show Taylor Swift. She does some weird shit too.
I sold my soul to the devil. I know it's a crappy deal. This came with a few toys like a Happy Meal.
You've had three conversations with the devil. Why with the devil?
Well, to make a fair decision, I think you have to be aware of both sides. And I was approached, so of course I had a conversation.
I think that we all, as artists, because we're highly sensitive people, and this machine around us, this so-called music industry, is such a demonic thing. It sacrifices people's lives and their essences And at the drop of a dime.
I ran around with a band that, I won't name them, but a satanic rock band, and all their music was very wicked. And one day I just asked him, I said, where do you get those horrible songs that you write? And he said to me, we all get in a room and the songs just come. We know that to be
Exactly, they don't write them themselves.
And he said, the songs just come, we write them down, we record them, and then we take the master tape to a witch coven, and they pray over it. So that when we press the records and they go into people's homes, demons go home with each record.
Satan is using the rock groups as his patsies to evangelize the youth of the world.
When I see the way these people are encouraging kids to live, there is no doubt in my mind we have got to be more militant in our own stand.
The satanic message is clear, both in the album covers and in the lyrics, which are reaching impressionable young minds.
When a form of music that our children like becomes linked with ghoulish images and violent theatrics, and even suicide, it demands our attention. Perhaps more to the point, the children need our attention.
Some rock artists actually seem to encourage teen suicide. Ozzy Osbourne sings Suicide Solution. Blue Oyster Cult sings Don't Fear the Reaper. AC/DC sings Shoot to Thrill. Just last week in Center Point, a small Texas town, a young man took his life while listening to the music of AC/DC. He was not the first.
But anyway, this music had young people basically just killing themselves and worshiping the devil and just basically calling the devil's name out. We were in high school, kids would come to school with the satanic Bible, and this music would have all kinds of vicious pictures and graphic pictures on the CD covers and all this, and I mean, it was just a mess. Holy Spirit came to me a little while after that and said, spoke to me and said, Craig, this is not pleasing to the devil. He said, the devil is not satisfied with this because the brothers ain't down with heavy metal. Black folk ain't liking that. But he began to tell me that there was something coming that was getting ready to rock this nation. It's going to be worse than a bomb.
NWA.
But it was going to create a bunch of young people.
So let's stop it right here. So he just said that black people, they don't really listen to rock or rock and roll, right? And then they showed a picture of NWA, so like rap music. So if you listen to rap music, right? Or let's say King Von, for example. Any type of drill music like that. You get into this vibrational frequency, this state to where you think you're a badass. Like basically it turns you into a demon, and it's lowering your vibration, and it's causing an effect on you, whether you know it or not. The opposite of this would be like Beethoven, for example. If you listen to Beethoven, you would be in a positive vibrational state. Your vibration would rise, and you would attract more positive outcomes for yourself.
People that were going to totally defy order. The whole world would be rocked by the impact of it. He began to prepare something to catch and captivate the minds of America and pull them straight into his own belly. And that form of music that he was forming was what we know as the hip-hop culture.
How do we live in a society where somebody says, you know what, I'm inspired to write a song that celebrates murdering another person, and then a person says, I'd like to put that on my station. Another person said, I'd like to pay for it, and then there's people out here in the audience that go, I'd love to hear it, as long as it's black guys, because even white people buy rap music, buy this type of stuff, because we know that when we want to hear about killing each other, we know who to turn to for that type of inspiration. We call it our music. We say we own it. White people buy more rap than black people. Yeah, but we're very careful to turn it down at the stoplight when other black people are there. Why? Because we know we're just pretending. For them, it's more authentic and real.
The
reason why Satan has to deceive us and get us into entertainment and cause us to be so focused on what Lil Wayne said and what the Grammys are doing, and we supposed to be praying, but we focus on that because he knows if we ever wake up to the true agenda, we'll start praying. Prayer is what destroys the enemy's works.
But if you follow the money, you go high enough, you start to see, okay, let's take rap music. Same people who own the labels own the prisons.
Now it seems like they're making it cool to be drinking lean and syrup.
So why sign an artist that would promote that?
It's opportunistic. Yeah. I got people to feed. I got a business to run.
The master is a tape about as big as the top of the
some
podium
Baal saying that.
That looks like an overgrown 8-track that the album is cut on, and it's placed in a machine that produces and presses the records and the 8-tracks and cassettes that you buy. After it's been recorded, it's taken in. This is why a master's cut months in advance before it's released. On the full moon, it's taken in to a temple room about the size of this auditorium that is in every one of the major music companies, behind locked doors up in the executive offices. And it's placed on an altar, setting in the north of the room, and a pentagram engraved in the floor. And 13 hand-chosen witches and wizards and a coven come in and conjure a principality or a power up, usually Regia or something like that, and order him to tell the demons under him to follow every record and every tape coming off of that master. As I tell many Christian parents, you can go home and count your kids' records, probably yours too, and count how many demons at least
It's more about
are
music
there.
than like Hollywood, but see if it covers it.
Music is a powerful force that shapes our culture and influences our lives. But what happens when the beats we love carry a darker message? Today, we dive into the controversial world of popular music, aka pop music, exploring its negative impacts on society and the demonic influences that are at play. Welcome to a journey into the dark underbelly of the music industry, where the lines between entertainment and the occult blur, and where the influence of dark forces on popular music is more than just a conspiracy theory. Follow along as we explore the dangers of witchcraft in music and the satanic influence that permeates the pop culture we consume every day. The idea that demonic forces influence music artists is not new. Legendary blues singer Robert Johnson is famously said to have sold his soul to the devil in exchange for unparalleled musical talent.
This is the guy that was at the crossroads?
Where Robert Johnson, the father of the blues and rock and rolls, got his demonic ability to play the music that now has evolved into what we got now, this witchcraft music that we got now. And that's why every other artist must do the same thing.
This tale of selling one's soul for fame is a recurring theme in the music industry.
Kanye,
this legend
Lil
continued
Baby.
into modern times
The Baby.
with artists like Kanye West, Bob Dylan, and Katy Perry. While performing on stage, Kanye West bragged to his fans about selling his soul to the devil.
I sold my soul to the devil. I know it's a crappy deal. This it came with a few toys like a Happy Meal.
In a 2004 interview with 60 Minutes, Bob Dylan admitted to making a bargain with the chief commander of this world and the unseen world.
Why are you still out here?
Well, it goes back to the destiny thing. I mean, I made a bargain with it, a long time ago, and I'm holding up my end.
What was your bargain?
To get where I am now.
Should I ask who you made the bargain with?
Look, they cut out, but look how the interviewer is smiling.
Chief commander.
On this earth?
Look how he's smiling.
And then in a world we can't see.
Early in her career, Katy Perry mentioned that she started in gospel music, but eventually sold her soul to the devil for fame.
That's how I got introduced to the music industry, is through gospel music. I swear I wanted to be like the Amy Grant of music. Yeah. But it didn't work out, and so I sold my soul to the devil.
What many don't realize is that Satan is the angel of music. Ezekiel chapter 28, verse 13 speaks of the devil's musical abilities in Eden.
You were in Eden, the garden of Yah. Every precious stone was your covering, the sardius, topaz and diamond, beryl, onyx and jasper, sapphire, turquoise, and emerald with gold. The workmanship of your timbrels and pipes was prepared for you on the day you were created.
It is no coincidence that Ephesians chapter 2, verse 2 describes Satan as having power over the air.
In which you once walked, following the course of this world, following the prince of the power of the air, the spirit that is now at work in the sons of disobedience.
Satan, that old serpent, knows the power and influence of music. That's why it is so ubiquitous in our culture. Music permeates movies, commercials, video games, and much more to impact our thoughts and emotions.
So the great dragon was cast out, that serpent of old called the devil and Satan, who deceives the whole world. He was cast to the earth, and his angels were cast out with him.
To gain further understanding of Satan and his schemes, watch these documentaries on our channel. Please like and share with those seeking truth. Let's get back to It's Just Music. The Beatles' infamous Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band album cover features Aleister Crowley, a well-known occultist and devil worshipper. This clearly identifies the band's demonic influences.
Aleister Crowley, the greatest black magician to ever live.
And the messages embedded in their music.
He spoke 16 different languages.
As we just saw in the book of Revelations, Satan has deceived the whole world into looking at the success of musicians and not the source of their power.
I want people to think about this. One of Satan's greatest deceptions was making people believe that music is harmless. It's just art. It's just music. And Satan has fooled everyone, all races. It doesn't matter, white, black, all income levels, rich, poor, all age levels, old, youth. Satan is specifically targeting the youth. I was watching this program on television just the other day. This story was about a young high school girl. She came from an upper middle income family. She was intelligent, she was bright, she didn't hang around a bad crowd. This young lady got a 30 on her ACT scores, so she was very intelligent. She had a bright future ahead of herself. So where does the deception come in? Well, this story was extremely sad because her favorite artist that she listened to all the time talked about taking a particular type of drug. This drug that her favorite artist sang about made them hallucinate and gave them special abilities to create songs. So she saw no harm in taking this drug and trying it out. And I want to show you guys this. This drug was no bigger than this sheet of paper. Now I want you guys to remember, this young lady had a 30 ACT score. She died from experimenting with this drug.
Oh my God, Sheila, her lips are blue and I don't feel puff.
Now, who was her favorite artist that planted the seed in her head to try this out? It wasn't a new artist. It wasn't a contemporary pop artist. She got this idea from the Beatles, a band that was popular 40, 50 years ago. So you see, Satan and his demonic message reverberates throughout all generations.
This rise in occultism and Satanism in pop music can be attributed to multiple generations believing lies about Satan, such as the notion that Satan is more powerful than the Most High God. For example, Billie Eilish's song, "All the Good Girls Go to Hell," implies that the devil is so powerful that we should want to be on his team.
All the good girls go to hell.
Satanism promotes systematized selfishness, the idea that one can be their own God. The Bible, however, states that humans are made in Yahuwah's image and are accountable to him. Aleister Crowley, an occultist, famously said, "Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law," reflecting the satanic belief in self-indulgence. In contrast, the Bible commands us to fear Yahuwah and keep his commandments.
Let us hear the conclusion of the whole matter. Fear Yahuwah and keep his commandments, for this is man's all.
Jay-Z, influenced by Aleister Crowley, boldly sported a shirt declaring, "Do what thou wilt," a command from Crowley's satanic philosophy. Meanwhile, Michael Jackson, originally a dedicated Jehovah's Witness, turned to occultism as his fame's sword. He donned an armband inscribed with the sinister numbers 777, echoing the very digits Crowley exalted in his writings. The music world is full of artists involved in the occult. Drop their names and share your thoughts in the comments below. The culture of death in music is undeniable. Artists like Elvis Presley, Whitney Houston, Tupac, Kurt Cobain, and many more met tragic ends, often linked to substance abuse or gun violence. The prevalence of suicide and overdoses among musicians is alarming and indicative of a cursed culture. The cultural acceptance of violence, drugs, and death in music is alarming. 2 Timothy chapter 3 speaks of perilous times where men will be lovers of themselves and despisers of good.
But know this, that in the last days perilous times will come, for men will be lovers of themselves, lovers of money, boasters, proud, blasphemers, disobedient to parents, unthankful, unholy, unloving, unforgiving, slanderers, without self-control, brutal despisers of good, traitors, headstrong, haughty.
Yeah, I did magic on my...
Like an ignorant loudmouth who you can just sort of...
So, let's go back.
Like when you're getting ready to go on stage and perform.
I don't want to watch the whole thing. We're just going to watch the examples of what these famous people say or how they're conjured. You can also make an argument for MK Ultra, which we'll talk about later on. Probably not on this stream. Well, maybe stream for a little bit longer, and then I'm going to get out of here. Got to go to the gym. Back in the gym. It's been like 2 weeks since I had gone, so I'm going to keep that up.
Another disturbing aspect of the influence of Satanism in the music industry is the notion of musicians channeling spirits that overtake their bodies during performances. Some artists have openly discussed experiences where they feel possessed or guided by an otherworldly force while on stage, attributing their extraordinary performances to these spiritual encounters.
Like when you're getting ready to go on stage and perform, does Sasha Fierce, when does she show up?
Usually when I hear the crowd, when I put on my stilettos, when like the moment right before when you're nervous and that other thing kind of takes over for you.
That other thing kind of takes over for you.
Min is a crazy boy who lives in me, and he says the things that I don't want to say. He was born, just a few months ago. I I think he was born out of rage. He was conceived in rage. So he bashes everyone. He threatens to beat people, and he's violent.
That must be nice to have like an ignorant.
So they're allowing these demons to work through them so they can have that musical ability.
Loudmouth who you can just sort of blame every.
He wants to be blamed. I don't want to blame him. I ask him to leave, but he can't.
But they can't. That's the thing. Once they make that pact, once they allow this demon to use them, that's it. It's over. And eventually, they come back and screw them.
For a reason. People have brought him out. People conjured him up. Now he won't leave.
It's a power struggle.
Like I say, to each his own, you know?
I know. You look at her. She's so sweet.
Hey, she powerful too.
Yeah, I did magic.
Look how weird that lady is at the bottom.
Don't talk, sweetheart. It's okay. You're a silly man. I can talk to kids.
She powerful.
I know.
Cause you know, we don't, that's a lot of people right there.
She's sweet to kids, I swear.
Hey, why you don't never just talk for yourself? Why you always talk to your community? You know, you supposed to give them the orders. They don't supposed to give you the orders. You the controller. You know, I got 10,000 angels right now. I got 10,000 angels in here with me right now at my command.
You're rude, just a little.
I sacrifice.
You, I know. I will too. I said I will
Say
too.
what? It's hard. That's a hell of a journey. 42 days, no food. No food. That's a hell of a journey.
I know it is.
Getting small. Felt like I was going crazy after that. Different. Everybody know what it take. Everybody ain't willing to do what it take. I'm over 3,000 years old. I'm up in rank.
In today's music industry, several artists have admitted to incorporating witchcraft and spells into their music, claiming to cast spells on their listeners. Taylor Swift,
there you go,
known
Swift,
for her
like we
hit
talked
songs and massive popularity, is one such artist. Swift's music video for Willow features witchcraft imagery, and she has openly talked about the song being akin to casting a spell to make someone fall in love. Beyond these individual admissions, there's a broader pattern of satanic and pagan influences in the music industry.
What really, really woke me up and let me know, like, okay, the enemy is involved in this kind of music. I'll never forget, there was I had to perform, and I was performing with this famous rapper. I actually opened up for him, and I was, got on the stage. I began to rap and do my thing, and while I was rapping, everybody was feeling it, and everybody liked it, and even this person, he was like, man, he shook my hand even afterwards that I got done, like, man, you did a great job, and now it's his turn to get on. And so after I got off, I stood in the back of the club, and I saw him get on, and he began to perform. And there was this voice that came to me, and again, I know the voice now, but at the time, I didn't know the voice. I just heard something, and I listened. And this voice said, I need you to go back. I need to go to the back of the club. I need you to stand on the back wall and watch. Literally, my eye opened to the spirit world. The moment that I said I was going to do what this voice was telling me to do, it was as I got activated. And my eyes opened to the spirit. I see these dark shadows come out of this rapper's mouth and enter the people that was in the club. The women started getting more like seductive, and promiscuous, and then the guys started getting more angrier and rowdy, and like the next thing you know, gunshots happen in the club and we run.
All right, so that's enough of that video. Look how they're dressed.
How about the eyes, my guy? It's all in the eyes.
So they're saying that that's what, T.Y. Dollar Sign? They're dressed like the Eyes Wide Shut movie. And if you don't know, the Eyes Wide Shut movie was filmed in a Rothschild mansion. Which is weird, right? Why would artists, the biggest artists you see, look, Coi Leray,
Happy birthday!
go to an Eyes Wide Shut themed party?
Right here for right here. Right here.
It's just
art,
right?
Don't get ready this way. Happy birthday! Happy birthday! Thank you. One more time.
Was that trippy?
Yes, sir. Hey, Winnie. Hi, Winnie. Hi, Winnie. Hi, Winnie. Over here, Winnie, for Stanford. Right here. Winnie, it's right here this way. Over here, Winnie. Right here.
Winnie Harlow, the famous model.
Let us see the front of the outfit.
That's crazy.
Winnie. Over here. Big smile. Big smile. Winnie, big smile. Close the door for shot by YPD right here. Right here, Winnie. Slay, girl. Yeah, beautiful.
Well, again, she takes good directions because she's a model, so she's taking directions from paparazzi.
Please stand. Over here for Daily Mail. Over here for shot by NYPD. Over here for NYPD. NYPD right here. Over the shoulder. Winnie right here. Right here, Winnie. Big spot right here, Winnie. What up, man? Nice to see you. What up, brother? Hey, what's up? Well, it's T. It's T-Rock.
Doja, the host. So this is the main character in Eyes Wide Shut.
Happy birthday! Woo! Happy birthday, Zoe. Right here. Welcome to residency, everyone. Welcome. Everyone enjoy.
Okay, look, you seen that? You see the Masonic symbol? Right there. 27. Right there. See it?
Oh shit! Fuck!
And they allow you to see this.
Come on, guys, back up. There's space. Back up. Move away from the door. Thank you, guys.
Let's go, buddy. Take out here saving lives, man. You don't want to lose Kevin.
I know.
Tiger, how was the party, man?
It was cool.
He's not really dressed like anything.
Hold on. My card.
How you feeling? How's the single life?
Okay?
They don't want to be seen at this party.
One more time.
What's the fourth? There you go. Right there.
Get her. Get her. Get him. Happy Halloween, my guy.
Happy Halloween, Beaver.
Happy Halloween, Beaver.
Halloween, buddy.
That's a fly ass flip, bro.
Over your shoulder, Beaver. There you go, man.
So let's just look into Eyes Wide Shut and then probably end the stream. We'll just look at the best scenes so you can compare it to what we just watched.
Please, come forward. May I have the password, please?
Fidelio.
That's right, sir. That is the password for admittance. But may I ask, what is the password for the house?
The password for the house.
Yes?
I'm sorry, I seem to have forgotten it.
That's unfortunate. Because here, it doesn't matter whether you have forgotten it, or if you never knew it. You will kindly remove your mask.
Doesn't show the full thing. Perhaps this one will.
found. The next day, while observing Alice helping Helena with her homework, a drawing of a red figure is visible just over Bill's shoulder, referencing the threat that the host of the Somerton party made against Bill's family should he investigate the cult any further. But who could the red cloak possibly be?
You go ahead. I'll watch.
No. I was just,
No.
I want to see if it'll show the full... I just want to watch the ceremony.
Good evening. Good evening. Password, sir?
Fidelity.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, you guys get the point. So, that's what that party was based off of. Creepy, right? Go watch it.
This is Secret Life of Symbols.
We think that we are getting better each day, and we have come from a more primitive society, but we are getting better every day and becoming more superior in knowledge and technology, when actually, in point of fact, we are digressing. We are moving away from what we were thousands and thousands of years ago. And I am of the opinion that our history has been vastly changed, and so that we don't really know the history of mankind on this earth.
He's saying that the timeline has been screwed up.
Finding that there are temples on the ocean floor, pyramids, Machu Picchu, Chichen Itza, incredible structures of temples, and knowledge which is displayed about the universe, about astrology, and the astronomical truths about the universe. The ancient, truly prehistoric and ancient people, they knew all about it. We are trying to catch up today to what they knew tens of thousands of years ago. We are finding everything that we think we know. It's already been here tens of thousands of years ago. There was a higher life forms on this earth than we are. I have a vision of, from the ancient world, were not what we would refer to as humans. I think that they looked like us maybe, or in some ways like us. They were far superior. The people, whoever they were, that built the Great Pyramid of Egypt, had an extraordinarily brilliant understanding of the Earth, of our solar system, of the galaxy we are in, and all of the esoteric and profoundly important knowledge about life and the spirit of man and where we've come from and where we're going. And so it all implies that there was a far higher civilization all around the world. And the best science we have today are admitting that we're just trying to catch up with what the ancient peoples already knew. These ancient, brilliant builders and teachers, they didn't grow into that. They came in fully developed. When you look at Egypt, Egypt as a classic example, if you go to the very beginnings of Egypt, it came in as an extraordinarily brilliant society of builders and knowledge, and then eventually devolved into what Egypt is today. But there was a time when Egypt was in its prime when it was founded. So it didn't kind of work up to, as we say, we're working up to some kind of a wonderful future. But Egypt didn't do that. It came in at its pinnacle. How is that possible? The only way it's possible is because when whoever this was that we call the ancient Egyptians, they were not of this world to start with. They came here knowing all that we still are trying to find out. So it implies that they were not from here. They came in fully understanding the whole universe. And they were able to do things with their temples and with the way that they laid out the pyramids. They knew things we didn't know, and we still don't know. And we're still trying today. In metaphysics and in occultism, religion, we're trying to find the bottom line that the ancient peoples, they already knew. There is obviously a high science behind the life period. And all of the best in our human life, like astrology and alchemy and all of the other, what I call sciences. Others would say, no, they're just belief systems. No, they're sciences, because when you really look into them, you begin to see that they're telling you things that scientists are just now beginning to realize. There's a higher occult or hidden. The word occult simply means hidden. And so there's obviously a higher science or an occult science behind mankind's ability to contemplate the spiritual aspects of life on the earth. There's lots of ancient people already knew what we're trying to find out today. We know that the pyramids, say in Mexico and Central and South America, along with the great temples around the world, were solar temples. They were the center for astronomy. And so the ancient peoples were not looking for spiritual answers as such. They were looking at the actual universe and trying to figure out where we are, what we're doing, and what is the universe. And so from that inquiry into the actual setup of the way the universe operates, then from there they began to suspect that there was some kind of an unwritten powerful laws in the universe that guided the sun, the moon, the planets, and the whole of the solar system. They start off scientifically just looking for answers to what we're doing here. What is this? And from there, they began to develop religions or philosophies, alchemy, astrology, medicine, and then human interrelationships. And then from there, you get into all the other metaphysical pursuits. And that's why today the world is half scientific and yet half spiritual. But the spirituality did not come first. There's the regular interest in how the world works. That's what the ancient peoples built those great observatories for. They just wanted to study the heavens. But in doing so, it didn't take long till around the world, mankind that was viewing the heavens for science began to suspect that there's something else going on here. And now comes the world of spirituality. As I said, the word occult simply means hidden. So there are many hidden sciences that the really bright people who are looking into these things know about. But generally speaking, the world of mankind is not really well informed about alchemy and about the sciences of spirituality. But that's growing now too. So people are beginning to wake up to the spiritual relevance to your life of spiritual subjects. I think that there is something there that needs to be looked at, this whole idea of where man has come from, where he is right now, and ultimately where is he going to go with his knowledge and with his life and experiences. What is the reason why we're having the experiences that each of us do have each day? We're all growing, and hopefully we are growing far more intelligent and insightful, and looking at the spiritual aspects of our life. That's a very important feature of being alive, is to not just live for the material world today, but start asking serious questions about where were you before you were born, and where will you be after you leave here, this earth, and what is the reason for our human life, and why are we learning so many hard lessons the hard way? There seems to be some sort of an overshadowing presence in the universe that men have called God, or some sort of an ultimate spiritual presence that is leading or directing our evolution. And if that be the case, which it seems to be, then maybe there is some hope yet for the human race. If enough people begin to wake up, spiritually speaking, and begin to look at their lives spiritually, then there might be hope for us yet, because this is why we are in the shape we're in today, because we are living in this me generation. And this generation that only cares about feeding itself and taking care of itself and enjoying itself, never realizing you have responsibility. Philosophers and great teachers of the world, my gut feeling is that we do come into this world with baggage from other lifetimes, and this is why we begin to become who we are, because of who we were before. Another part of that story is that we...
So the basic principle that he's saying is that we are what we are now is because of who we were. So let's say that let's say you're addicted to crack, right? To like somebody... What he's saying is that in the past life that you were addicted to crack, and now you are in this life. But the basic tone or presence he's trying to portray is that something has embodied you, or a demon has embodied you and possessed you, that had a previous affliction with this substance, and now you do as well.
Before we came and incarnated on this earth, that we chose a particular lifestyle, we're told and given to understand, and that we chose our own parents before we came here. I understand the spirit world, and now that gets into the subject of Freemasonry.
So G, the generative principle, the pillars, the checkerboard, black and white duality. This is the coffin. But if you see, look at the dome. It's the firmament. The firmament, so flat earth.
To the secret sciences like alchemy and political. There's a lot of political stuff in there too. You have to be careful about secret societies, because these different societies become very powerful and very wealthy, but they have an agenda. They have a particular agenda that they're trying to create or to bring into being, and therefore they will build the whole world around you.
See that? Look.
And you accept what, when you're
the
a child,
obelisk is right there. Look, phallic worship.
You. And you accept what, when you're a child, a baby, you come into the world and you just accept everything. And if you don't grow up, you just, as a grown person, You just accept whatever there is because that's the way it is, but that's not the way it is. And you keep in mind that there were secret societies that were involved in founding this country. And who were they? And what were they trying to do? That you need to get into, studying the occult symbols of power in this world. They're used as a means.
As above, so is below. The horns, the light.
To communicate and to influence you, or to connect you with the spiritual world that they represent.
Seal of Solomon, Star of David. So masculine up, feminine down. Solar, lunar. See the serpent eating itself as well?
So let's start with a religious symbol, and that is an ancient Phoenician god that was very important in the Middle East some 5,000 years ago. That god was called Dagon, D-A-G-O-N. Dagon was a fish god. Interesting how he has evolved into today's world of religion. Dagon is still very much alive with the world today. First of all, everyone knows that Christianity is founded on the worship of Jesus Christ.
Jesus Christ.
That is accepted around the world. And most people believe that the Vatican is the center for the worship of Jesus, the God of Christianity. However, millions of people also believe that the Pope of Rome is leading the Christians to worship Jesus throughout the world. But my question is, who is the Pope leading the worship of?
Exactly. So the Pope is able to gather all these people to his spell circle. When you sign to be Pope, you sign to be Pope of the world. Literally Pope of the world.
The first symbol that I want to talk about is the headdress that the Pope or the Bishop of Rome wears. That headdress is very interesting and has quite a history to it.
See, I didn't think this was going to be a good
That Pope's headdress is called Pope's mitre. The Pope's mitre, we've seen it in many different shapes, but they're always basically the same shape. The Pope's mitre. It's an official headdress worn only by the Pope, or supposedly only by the Pope. But we need to understand that that symbol goes back at least 5,000 years. So what we need to know and what we need to keep in mind is that this strange and interesting headdress of hat that the Pope wears is impacted by a god named Dagon. Dagon was a god of the Philistines, and Dagon comes from the word dag, which means fish. So Dagon was a fish god. And here we have pictures of another fish god named Anis, same god, but was worshipped in different countries under different names. So we have a god who's half fish and half man, or men who wear the garbs of a fish in their religious celebrations. So here in the Jewish Encyclopedia, under the heading of Dagon, you will see a picture of the priest of Dagon, or the god himself, and he's wearing a fish head and the body of a fish down his back. So now we see the Pope's headdress. On the top is the Pope's mitre. But when turned, you then see he's actually wearing a fish head, the fish god Dagon, because he's representing the worship of an ancient Phoenician god. So this is why today Christians on the back of their cars, you will see, have a fish symbol, thinking that that's to denote them as Christians worshiping Jesus. No, it's a fish symbol because it's denoting Dagon, the fish god.
A lot of people have seen that. A lot of people have seen that. You know you've seen it on the back of somebody's car, and I never understood it either until now.
The significance is Dagon was a very important mystical god to the ancient peoples in the Middle East, in Babylonia, Sumeria, Phoenicia, Canaan. And that very powerful mystical God is still dominating the spirit and the intellectual thinking of religion even to today. So it's not Jesus that's influencing the Vatican and the Pope. It's Dagon, the fish god. That's the importance of this. The point being is that religion comes to the world in the age of Pisces. And Pisces is, of course, the two fish of the constellation of Pisces.
Duality.
But Dagon is 5,000 years old. Another one of the symbols I find to be very interesting that's used quite often around the world today, but a lot of people don't know how it's connected to the religions of today, and that is a magic wand. Magic wands, we've heard in stories galore from children from childhood days about magicians who use a magic wand. Well, the magic wand is just what it says it is. It's some sort of a branch of a tree that has been consecrated and made holy by blessings from the priest, and now it has a magical quality that can do things that humans can't do. The Druid priest.
You ever play with a tree branch when you were a kid and pretend like it was a wand?
They use the wood of a holly tree.
The holly tree, Hollywood.
And that's what we get the term today, Hollywood, and the magic of Hollywood. Today we have Hollywood. We have Mickey Mouse waving a magic wand. On the left side, we also have actual real magic wands as they are made today in Europe. And of course, orchestra leaders and orchestra conductors, they lead the music with a magic wand. And a lot of people haven't thought about that, but that's what it is, a magic wand. So here we have a picture of Moses, where he is conjuring up the spirits in the universe with a magic wand. That's very interesting, Moses with a magic wand. In the ancient Roman Empire, the most important god at the height of Rome's power in the world was a god named Mithra. Mithra was a sun god. And according to the Roman explanation of their god, he was not only a sun god, but he did his miracles with a magic wand. Now here we have Jesus raising Lazarus from the tomb. And you will see that Jesus is using a magic wand. How many Christians know that all throughout Europe and around the world, Christian churches have Jesus working his miracles with magic wands? A lot of people don't know that, So we hear all about the magical things that Jesus was able to do, but here in the actual churches, we see that Jesus is doing his miracles with a magic wand. The importance of this is to point out that people do not realize that in Christianity, the understanding in the ancient world and in the medieval world was that these religious figures like Jesus were doing their miracles with magic wands. But it's actually legitimate, de jure, real magical system of controlling people's minds and directing their spirits and their hearts and being able to direct our civilization through magical symbols and magical words.
Magical words. He's saying magical. I don't know about like the Jesus part, but he's saying magical words as in like spells, spelling, spell. And the English language was changed, but there were certain words that could change the fabric of reality. Just saying things could like move reality.
That I find to be very interesting is in Star Trek there was a Mr. Spock, and if you remember, Mr. Spock was always giving a hand sign, and he was said to be a Vulcan. First of all, his hand sign was actually a religious symbol in Judaism, in which it was a blessing to the congregation in Judaism. It's called the Koan symbol. This symbol is a Jewish blessing symbol. But where did it come from? It comes from the split hoof of a goat. It goes back to the split hoof of a goat because we're talking about the age of Aries, the ram, when the Jews were under the age of the ram or the Lamb of God. And so that's why today we call Jesus the Lamb of God, going back to the constellation of Aries, the ram. Niebuhr even said that he accepted that sign and used it, but because it was a sign from his rabbi, and he thought it was a very interesting symbol, so he just used it in Star Trek. I'm sure he probably knew the meaning of the sign, but that's where he said he got it from. Another subject which is interesting and very relevant today is a symbol called the fasci, or the fasces. On the back of an American dime, you will see a bundle of sticks tied together, and it has an axe head with it. That is called a fasci, and this is an ancient Etruscan symbol that was adopted by the Roman Empire to symbolize Rome's power. It's an old ancient Etruscan symbol, but it's very important to the Roman Empire. Rome said, ancient Rome's philosophy was, if it's just one stick, you can beat somebody with a stick, but it's not going to hurt them really. But if you got 2 or 3 sticks, now it's going to be a little bit heavier deal. But if you get 5 or 6 sticks and tie them together as one, now you've got serious strength. Now when you beat somebody with 6 or 8 sticks tied together, that's serious. And so then they put a hatchet head on it because an axe head always represented, in almost all the ancient cultures of the world, accepted that the axe head represented the presence of God. God was the great hatchet. He's giving you the axe. And so the hatchet head represented God, and the bundle of sticks represented a coalition of troops. So when Rome would go into to another country to overtake it, they would take troops from this group and troops from that group and put them all together. Now you've got a strong force. It's not just Roman. It's all kinds of other countries are with you. And so that's what we hear today when we hear the presidents talking about during the Middle East. They have a coalition of countries, not just America. We have other countries with us. It's a coalition. Coalition is another name for fasci, which is a symbol for world fascism, when you can get all the countries together and have them all.
I was thinking muscle fascia, the fascia around your muscle fibers. Your fibers
marching
are
to the same
together.
tune. Now you've got a strong military force. The fasci was usually carried officially behind Caesar. He would be in the front of the parade or whatever, and there would be what is called lectors behind him, and they would be holding the fasci, symbolizing Caesar's power over life and death. He is the man. He's the boss. And so the lectors will be standing on both sides of Caesar on the altar.
It's like in the movie Gladiator when he does this.
Holding those fasci, so that the Roman people know he has the right to life and death. So here you'll see in World War II, with Mussolini on the left, and his symbol for his government, a fasci. Well, of course, he's Italian, and that goes back to the Roman Empire. And so here we have a Nazi, as you'll see, the swastika and the Nazi eagle, like the American bald eagle. But you'll see the 2 fascis on each side of the swastika. This is because Germany was in league with Italy during the Second World War. Mussolini had in mind to do the same thing Adolf Hitler wanted to do, was to create a new world order. And so Mussolini saw that new world order as being Catholic, as to be Roman, while Germany saw it to be German and not Italian. But the two together, I suppose they figured they'll work that out once they take over the world. Well, Mussolini actually, according to history books, actually thought of himself as Caesar. He saw himself in his position of power at the time of the Second World War as Caesar of the ancient Roman Empire, and therefore it would be right that he would pick the symbol that Caesar used to show his power. And so that's why the fasci became so fashionable in Italy. But the two fasci you will also see on the wall behind the where the Speaker of the House sits when the President's making a speech. The United States has secret societies in their government, and behind the government are very powerful secret societies that see itself, these societies see themselves as the promoters and to generate a new world order. All countries copy each other. The fascists copied the Etruscans, the Romans copied the Greeks, and the Greeks copied the Egyptians, and that's just the way humans are. As much as we change, the more we stay the same. We're all still adopting the same symbols that we adopted under the Egyptian Empire. We're still using those symbols today, pyramids. And let's talk about the pyramid. And we all recognize that there's 3 beautiful pyramids on what is called the Giza Plateau in Egypt. But my question is, there's only one of the 3 of those pyramids is referred to as the Great Pyramid. First of all, you need to know that the pyramid that's directly behind the Sphinx is not the Great Pyramid. It is a Great Pyramid in Egypt, but it is not the Great Pyramid. This is the Great Pyramid of Egypt. How many sides does the Great Pyramid have? Well, you would think if there's 4 sides, and then there's the bottom is a side, so it would be 5-sided pyramid. But actually, in point of fact, no, the Great Pyramid is 9 sides. Why? Because on the first day of the spring equinox or the fall equinox, if you're in the right place at the right moment when the sun hits the pyramid, you will see that each side is divided down the middle, but so subtle that when you're there at the pyramid, you don't notice it. But on the
you
first
don't
day
notice
of spring
it. So I've actually been to Egypt. You do not notice it.
in autumn, you will see the Great Pyramid is divided down the middle. And so here again is another picture of the pyramid from above on that special day, that special hour when the sun's hitting it just right. And so each side is 2 sides. Therefore, if you got not 4 sides, but 8, plus the bottom side makes 9. So how many people know that the Great Pyramid of Egypt has 9 sides? It's strange, but it seems as that no one really knows why the Egyptians took so much effort to divide each side of the pyramid so perfectly and so brilliantly and such that you would not see it until a particular day at a particular time. We call it the Great Pyramid because there's a lot of important stuff implied in that pyramid. And the other pyramids do not even come close. They don't have anything like what's in that Great Pyramid. That is one act by itself. It's the only one. That's why we today call it the Great Pyramid. The next subject we'd like to look at for a moment is the cornerstone in the Christian religion. Christians will tell you that the church, that in the church of Christianity, Jesus is referred to as the cornerstone of the church. But that's not exactly correct. The actual scripture says that he's not the cornerstone. It says Jesus is the chief cornerstone. The cornerstone is what it's said to be, just a stone at the corner of a building. But wherever you set that cornerstone up, you're going to line all the other stones up with it. So it's the first one that decides where this building is going to be aiming. And so Jesus Christ, the cornerstone. But Jesus is actually referred to as the chief cornerstone. And that's important because a totally different understanding of the word chief cornerstone. Chief cornerstone means a triangle placed on top of a pyramid. If you take a perfect, flawless pyramid, triangle, and you cut off the top, it itself is a pyramid, but it's a tiny one that sits on top of the big one. That tiny little pyramid is called a pyramidion. A pyramidion is a tiny pyramid sitting on top of the big pyramid. That's what the Bible says Jesus is. He is a pyramidion. He's not a cornerstone. He's
So
a
this
chief
is in the this is in the museum in Cairo.
cornerstone, which is on the top of a
I
pyramid.
believe this is in the first room. I've been here too.
That was the genius of the ancient Egyptians. And so today, the more we have changed, the more we stay the same. And so we use the same symbols that Caesar used. We use the same symbols that the Babylonians used. It's because mankind is hardwired, so to speak, to realize the importance of very powerful symbols to represent your civilization and who you are, where you come from, and what your destiny is. It's everywhere from religion to governments to military, commerce, banking. Symbols is a way to communicate with the world.
European, Indo-European.
I'm Jordan Maxwell, and thank you for watching.
This is...
Alright guys, well, boys and girls, that's the end of the stream. And it's my first stream, so let me know how I did. Go ahead and follow. I'm going to put this up on YouTube too, so you'll be able to watch it. And then more to come. I'm going to go hit the gym. That's it.